Has anyone else noticed the uptick in video game updates that are supposed sequels to said game? I swear this wasn't a thing a few years ago, but I always thought it was interesting how Overwatch was a popular game, but then they were like, hey, we know you like Overwatch, but what about Overwatch 2? A new Overwatch experience that'll also have a campaign that ended up getting canceled. I don't know. No one talks about how this concept is really weird because essentially they take your game you already own and delete the content of it and then replace it with new content. This whole update into a sequel trend is weird. Look at Counter-Strike. There was Counter-Strike 1.6, Counter-Strike Source, which was the sequel to Counter-Strike 1.6. Then they did Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which was the third game in the series, which then got updated into Counter-Strike 2, which really would be the fourth game, but since I guess they deleted Counter-Strike Global Offensive in the process, it would make it Counter-Strike 3, also known as Counter-Strike 2. Also, Condition Zero doesn't count because it's just a remake of 1.6, but like someone out there is going to be in the comment section angry about me saying it the way I did. And don't even get me started with Rainbow Six Siege and Rainbow Six Siege X and all the other examples of games that have done this that we'll also talk about. I am burdened by this question. What is worse? A game series that actively reuses content and releases a game that is almost the same as the game that was previously released, like Madden or any of the sports games out there. I could see someone making the case that Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 really aren't all that different, and Call of Duty. But I swear we've seen more examples of a game sequel in the form of an update become more and more common, and a lot of the time not even remotely close to the expectation that is given based off of the hype that they're trying to drum up for said update. And I thought that would be an interesting topic to talk about. But to understand why this happens, we have to go to the beginning of the timeline. Much like our own universe, everything starts with Fortnite. You know, Fortnite, when it first released, was a little bit of an enigma. It was just doing its own thing with the whole battle royale side of things. Sure, they had this whole other game they were working on. Nah, throw that away. Battle Royale it is, and it worked. But they decided to do something a little bit spicy. They decided to coincide with an update that they had planned. They were going to end Fortnite. And they did this whole big event of the end of the world in Fortnite. They made it feel like a finale, a final chapter to the seasonal updates that they had been doing, and it kind of painted this overall narrative. And they were doing this to kind of get more eyes on the game so people would pay attention when the new update that would follow this big finale would release, which would be a new map. And thus, Fortnite Chapter 2 was released in a pretty cool way, because after the whole end event, they like took Fortnite offline for a short period of time and nobody knew what was happening. I mean, people knew there was going to be something, obviously, but nobody knew exactly what. And then boom, brand new map. And whether you liked this map or not, you can't deny that the hype behind the reveal of a new map and, you know, new stuff coming to Fortnite in the way that they did it was a pretty cool way to spin it. And I think a lot of people jumped on board with Fortnite Chapter 2. They would do this again for Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 and whatnot, and it was fine, but the hype of them doing it between Fortnite and Fortnite Chapter 2 was definitely the biggest. And I'll even go as far as to say, because Fortnite is just a battle royale with like crossover events and, you know, an ever-changing thing, it works in that format. But when other game publishers try to replicate what Fortnite did, it doesn't really come across as cool. Also, Fortnite had the whole fact that it was a free-to-play game doing it, where some of these other games that have tried to do it are paid games, erasing their old game that you paid for to give you an updated game. It's a whole weird thing. But first, like, can we pay some bills? I mean, there's two of us on this channel. You know, some money would be nice. We got a sponsor. Have you ever tried accessing games or content online only to find out it's blocked in your region? Just like how video games often face strict regulation and censorship in places like China, many of our favorite websites, streaming services, and even games can have location-based restrictions. That's why we personally use Private Internet Access, or PIA for short. A VPN is kind of like having a secret tunnel around these digital walls. It encrypts your internet connection and masks your IP address, keeping your data safe from prying eyes like hackers or your internet provider. Why do they need to know what website you're on? We choose PIA because it reliably lets us bypass these geo restrictions and secure our online activity. With PIA, you can effortlessly access content that might otherwise be unavailable. For instance, by simply switching our server location to Canada, we're able to stream Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on Netflix, which isn't available on there if you're in the US. Plus, you can protect unlimited devices simultaneously, ensuring your entire household or workspace stays secure. PIA is trusted worldwide with over 30 million downloads and operates with a verified no logs policy by Deloitte, giving us peace of mind. Right now, using our special link, you can get an amazing 83% discount. Really? That's just $2.03 a month, plus 4 extra months for free, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's really no risk in trying it out, so click in the link description or pinned comment and start protecting your digital freedom freedom today. One of the most egregious examples of this, by far, is Overwatch, which we started talking about briefly. Overwatch 2 was nothing short of a patch fully disguised as a sequel. Now, as an Overwatch fan, you probably would have been excited about Overwatch 2 when it first was announced, because it did seem like a really ambitious direction for the game. Essentially, on October 2nd, 2022, Overwatch would shut down and Overwatch 2 would launch on October 4th, 2022 as a free-to-play game, so more people would be able to play the game than ever before. Blizzard made some pretty hefty promises. The game was going to have a more engaging live service model, which meant more content updates, perhaps. That's what people hoped for. So maybe more frequent seasonal updates, new heroes, new maps, new game modes, but the biggest one by far was a clear, story-driven campaign that was built on the lore and universe that had been built for Overwatch 1, which had some crazy cinematics that people really did enjoy watching back in the day. There was also going to be this whole PvE hero mode thing that had talent trees and long-term character progression. And then obviously there was still going to be support with the whole competitive multiplayer scene, which is what made Overwatch 1 popular. But the weird thing about all of this was that Overwatch 2 would release without this whole campaign mode that was promised. They're like, we're doing the multiplayer update first to get everyone ready for Overwatch 2, and then this mode will come out one day. They did change up the multiplayer, so when you played Overwatch 2, it was a slightly different experience, but it wasn't like a sequel level experience. I mean, they changed the team sizes from 6v6 to 5v5, making it where there's only one tank instead of two tanks. They had some new UI elements, I guess. There was a battle pass that was there instead of loot boxes, and then getting the new heroes as they'd be introduced was a little bit weird. They were like tied to the battle pass, and getting cosmetics was different, making it a little bit harder to get cosmetics without spending money. It was weird, loot boxes being removed but being replaced with $20 skins. A weird flex. But even if you spent $40 to $60 on Overwatch 1, there was no way that you could go back and just play Overwatch 1. It was entirely replaced. It's weird that with all of Overwatch 1, every hero was available when you just bought the game and played it. But Overwatch 2, new heroes would be locked away and you'd have to unlock them. And it was just this whole weird thing that kind of made the game feel sometimes pay to win. But the weirdest thing by far is how they handled PvE. Because Overwatch 2 wasn't just a, hey, we're doing this and now look, it's updated Overwatch 2. They announced Overwatch 2 years earlier in 2019. And then when Overwatch 2 finally did release, there of course was no PvE elements, story mode, or anything, even though it was teased years earlier. And it was supposed to have this campaign that was elusive that never ended up happening that would have been full co-op, which would have been really cool. I mean, let me read you this quote from Jeff Kaplan, who was the Overwatch game director at the time. We're building something that's actually a true sequel, not just in the multiplayer, but in the way we're developing the world and characters. And Overwatch 2 is still a game. Obviously, Jeff Kaplan wasn't happy with what ended up happening and he chose to leave Blizzard in 2021. And in May 2023, Blizzard said, actually, we're not doing this. We're not going to do the whole hero mode, talent trees, long-term progression. They briefly did a couple of small story missions that were paid content that were like $15 to $20, and there were like 3 missions in each season, and they weren't fun. They were really, really boring, actually. So when eventually even this ended up getting support drop, it felt like Overwatch 2 was actually pointless, because the whole point of Overwatch 2 getting announced was because of the story mode that they were supposed to do. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't just rename Overwatch 2 back to Overwatch at this point, because Overwatch 2 is just not representative as to what this game is. And now they've reintroduced events and old maps from Overwatch 1, and now 6v6 is back in Overwatch 2. So how is this that different than Overwatch 1, other than like the new content that is like hit or miss? It's a pretty big fumble. I don't know. After what happened with Overwatch 2, you think no other game studio would try to do the whole, this isn't just an update, this is the sequel. But then we've seen it a couple more times to different levels of quality. I mean, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But Luke's been playing Counter-Strike his whole life, so what happened there?
Yeah, so Counter-Strike is a really interesting case, because for once, the sequel wasn't just an out-of-nowhere rebrand. This was something the community had been begging for over a decade. The Source 2 upgrade wasn't just new shaders and a battle pass, it was like this mythical dream that players clung on to for years. Because when Counter-Strike Global Offensive launched in 2012, it was on the Source 1 engine, which dated all the way back to 2004's Half-Life 2. So even at that point, the engine was 8 years old, and with years and years going by, and other Valve games like Dota 2 getting upgraded to the Source 2 engine, or even the new Half-Life game, Half-Life Alyx, being in the Source 2 engine, Counter-Strike fans were just left waiting and wondering, when will the Source 2 engine upgrade happen? There was a lot of rumors and leaks over the years, most of them fake, but there was one credible one in 2023 when Nvidia did an update. In one of the driver profiles, it mentioned Counter-Strike 2 and CS2.exe, and this meant to people that a Counter-Strike Global Offensive sequel was confirmed at this point. And just a couple weeks later, Valve officially revealed CS2. And some of the new features they were teasing, like graphics and lightning upgrades, new sub-tick servers, a rework to how the smoke grenades work, a new physics engine, and updated tools for the developers so they could get out content faster, sounded really good and really promising. But there was one major flaw with this whole thing, and that was that CS2 entirely replaced CSGO. And with that replacement, tons of content and features were just lost overnight. The Danger Zone Battle Royale mode was gone. Arms Race, Demolition, Flying Scoutsman, Retakes, all those modes were also gone. Iconic maps like Train, Cache, Cobblestone, Short Dust were completely missing. And the Wingman mode, which is like the 2v2 mode, also had most of their maps just removed. But besides just stuff like the content of maps and game modes being removed, there was also features that were staple of Counter-Strike Global Offensive that just didn't make it into CS2. Like left-hand view model was gone, achievements were gone, map-specific agents, the feature where different CT or T factions appeared on specific maps, were removed and replaced by universal skins. The whole Overwatch system was gone, which was a system where you could watch rounds of alleged cheaters and could decide and vote on if they were cheating or not. I always thought this was actually a really innovative system, like take it to the community to vote on if someone is cheating or not, but no mention for that on Counter-Strike 2. Some of the maps like Train or game modes like Arms Race or even features like left-hand view model would come back over updates, but for all this to be gone overnight and then for them to take like months or up to years to add some of this content back just doesn't seem acceptable. But with all that being said, I think there's one thing that Counter-Strike 2 did that Overwatch 2 just neglected, and that was staying true to the game's identity. While the game wasn't perfect at launch and on top of the missing content had a lot of performance issues, playing the game still did feel like you're playing Counter-Strike from all the way back in the day. They've always done such a good job at keeping the identity of Counter-Strike in all their games and evolving it. Overwatch 2 did the exact opposite. They changed the core design of the game from 6v6 to 5v5 and also heavily reworked the monetization model. Where CSGO didn't really change this monetization model, they just removed a lot of content that they said they were gonna slowly add back. So Counter-Strike 2 may not be perfect, but it shows how to do a sequel update in a better way. Preserve the identity that works, improve the technology, and build on it steadily. And after the first few months, they did fix most of the technical issues, and the game runs better now. The content drops are still very slow, like I think Train is the only map we ended up getting for Counter-Strike 2. And it's been 20 months, well over a year since the game released. Also, I don't know, I might just mention it here at the end, but there is an offline version of CSGO that you can like downgrade your Counter-Strike 2 to and then go play. You just can't play online, but you can still like load up on most of the content, but not all of it, so some is lost forever.
Rainbow Six Siege X. Where do we even begin with this one? While it's not technically Rainbow Six Siege 2, the whole Rainbow Six Siege X thing pretty much is the same exact thing as what we've talked about with games doing the whole 2.0 thing. At least in the way that they marketed it. Leading up to the announcement of Year 10, they already started hyping things up. They were putting graffiti that had the X on it everywhere, and I think that was it. I mean, they were hyping that this would be the new era of Rainbow Six Siege, and that's actually a whole marketing line that they continued with all the way through the launch of Rainbow Six Siege X to where we are now, where they still iterate that this is the new era of Rainbow Six Siege. I've had friends who don't really even follow Rainbow Six Siege reach out to me and be like, hey, you guys play Siege? Is Siege X worth checking out? Is it cool? Is it a good game? So to like casuals who don't play Rainbow Six Siege, this 100% is marketing the game as if it is a brand new experience, you know, follow-up type build. To anyone who's actively playing Rainbow Six Siege though, it's definitely not that. At all. It is pretty much the exact same game with a couple of updates. It's literally just a regular update to Rainbow Six Siege. You know, when you think of a big sequel to a game, you think it's like a big, massive overhaul, but this is all they really added. For the main multiplayer side of things, a couple of the maps have updated lighting. In some cases, arguably worse lighting than before. Some of them look okay, but not all of the ranked maps have the updated lighting yet. They're rolling that out season to season. They didn't do them all. For main multiplayer, there are 0 brand new maps, 0 map reworks, 0 map buffs other than like a couple of really minor changes, like there's now this little like metal piece by this garbage can, and over here this clock has been moved slightly. Wow. Oh, I forgot, this staircase is now blue.
big change that came with the lighting update. I mean, sure, the maps look a little bit better than before. I think the maps looked at the best early on in Rainbow Six Siege before they changed the lighting to try to balance out the game, but then they decided to change it back to make it darker again, and I guess more updated. They do have better visuals as far as like seeing what's going on, but is this really the sequel level quality people expected? This is literally just an update. The new era of Rainbow Six Siege is really just new lighting again. I don't know. But Elijah, what about operators? Rainbow Six Siege is known for having all types of operators. Surely with Siege X there's a new one. Nope. They reworked a character that was already kind of broken. They were hated, and they dramatically changed her for better or worse. I don't know. I haven't decided how I felt about Clash yet. I know it seems like I'm dragging on Rainbow Six Siege X talk here, but this is a game that Luke and I actively play quite a bit, so we obviously feel a little more passionate about it. So what's the big selling point with Siege X? The free-to-play, I guess. That's cool, but if you are a free-to-play player, you can't play ranked. You have to pay for ranked. Okay, keep cheaters out, but that is something. And then they added Dual Front, a brand new game mode, a 6v6 game mode, and man, is it boring. Okay, to be fair, I'm sure some people out there somewhat maybe enjoy aspects of Dual Front, but I feel like most people who have played Dual Front who are Rainbow Six Siege regulars probably felt like this throughout their experience. Their first couple of games, they had no idea what they were doing. That was us. We thought it was kind of boring. By like the third day of playing it, we started to understand how it worked, and I will say this, we got close to almost having fun, and that's as far as it got in the good zone. Then a couple more days, we weren't having fun anymore, and we pretty much stopped playing the game altogether, and that is that. And man, did they spend a lot of resources on this new special game mode. I mean, they had to record all the voice lines for all the languages, design this map that doesn't really make sense, falling into the same Rainbow Six Siege pattern of having maps that don't really make sense and why they're laid out the way that they're laid out. For some reason, when you down someone, they take forever to kill, and like, you know, maybe with some updates down the road, this game type could get better. Like I said, we were getting close, dangerously close, dare I say, to almost having fun, but not quite getting that far, and that's it. That is Rainbow Six Siege X. That is the entirety of the update. Like, it is mostly exactly the same to Rainbow Six Siege. A couple of little other balancing things they changed, a few buffs, a few nerfs, mostly nerfs to operators, that's how it usually goes, and then that's it. I don't know. This definitely doesn't deserve the hype of being the next era of Rainbow Six Siege, especially if you've like been a long-term player like we have. We played back in year 2, season 3, and season 4. We went through essentially a time period where in 3 months, there were 6 new operators added to the game and 2 new maps. Content was good back then. This, not so much. And there's a ton of other bugs. I forgot to mention they said they fixed audio. It is better when it's working, but it also was broken for the first couple of days. There was a new glitch that's happened occasionally where PC players randomly end up in the console-only pools, so it becomes a console versus PC ranked lobby. They are trying to stop the cheaters. They haven't done anything about people using macros yet or Cronus to have anti-recoil devices plugged in for console players, and there's still a lot of cheaters, so that's rough. This one just really grinds my gears because it is a game that we like to play. But come on, just call it year 10. They don't have to do the whole hype up as if this is a new era. I mean, even on the Xbox store, it's rebranded Rainbow Six Siege X. It's not just called Rainbow Six Siege anymore. The X is a part of the name, and it's nothing. It literally is nothing. Hunt Showdown is definitely another game that falls into this category, as there was the original Hunt Showdown game that released in August of 2019, and then there was the Hunt Showdown 1896, which I think is supposed to mark like a new era of Hunt Showdown, which is everything that is after August of 2024. But did they succeed in making a sequel type experience in their game? Or was it just kind of like a fake marketing ploy? Now, while I typically will say when a game just does an update, is that really a sequel-like experience? And then they change the whole name of the game over it? I think it's a little bit of a shady move, but Hunt Showdown kind of handled it better than other games. You see, originally, Hunt Showdown maybe had some limitations with the game's performance, so it already needed like something to kind of bump the game's quality up a bit, and to coincide with, you know, bumping, which is where essentially they shifted to a brand new engine for Hunt Showdown, if I understand it correctly. I'm a little confused on what an engine in a video game actually means, but they were on CryEngine 5.0, and then they were on CryEngine 5.11 with like DX12 or something. What does that mean? Nonetheless, the engine shift aside, they added a bunch of content alongside their update. Wouldn't that be interesting, Rainbow Six Siege X? Okay, so they had new environments, new visuals, new audio tech, a brand new map based in Colorado called Mammon's Gulch. They had some new enemies, and performance saw a big boost across the board. They did drop support on older platforms, but, we're setting things up for the future. And honestly, the visuals were pretty good. And then tie that to the whole 1896 part, which was like a shift in the timeline, I guess. It was like they wanted to give a little more Western spice to it. I think they even added some new weapons and tools as well. Now, it wasn't perfect. The UI redesign actually was pretty controversial for existing Showdown players. Some people thought that it just made it way too complicated for no reason. And there were performance issues for people who were able to play the game normally. Then all of a sudden, especially if they're on PC, the new version of the game just wasn't optimized very well. They saw some review bombing. Crytek responded saying that they were going to update the UI in a few days. Just hang in there. But ultimately, I think it ended up benefiting the game itself, doing this whole marketing push as if this was an updated experience. And after the relaunch, it hit 60K concurrent players, which was the highest that it had ever seen. So I guess it worked out for them. I mean, it's better than Rainbow Six Siege X. I'm sorry, I can't get over it. I'll never get over it. I mean, I'll probably get over it.
Another franchise that recently got that 2 stamp that we talked about so much in this video was Smite, when Smite 2 was announced. And the community is kind of divided whether this is a full-on sequel or Smite 1.5 and what this is supposed to be, because really, it's not that different. It does not offer a crazy new perspective on Smite. It really is just Smite 1 with a new engine. And much like Counter-Strike 2, this engine upgrade stood at the forefront of why they decided to replace Smite 1. Smite 1 ran on Unreal 3, which at this point is kind of an old engine, and Smite 2 was rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, which is a much newer engine, with overall just better features and etc, etc. And with this engine upgrade, they also decided to make some minor gameplay changes like the item system and how that whole thing works, which basically just means that now any god can buy any item, when before in Smite 1 the items were class-based, which isn't that big of a change, honestly. Another thing they did was revamp the rating system, and they added new ranks, but I mean, they could have done that in Smite 1 as well. And out of 130 characters called gods in Smite that you could play in Smite 1, only 45 of these gods carried over to the open beta launch. Now there is some Smite 2 exclusive gods like Hecate and Mordred that are only available in Smite 2, but there's still so much content missing when it comes to these characters from Smite 1. They kind of explained this as them wanting to redesign and reevaluate a lot of these gods before they put them in, and eventually they'll come back. But once again, they could have done that over time too, with keeping all the gods. Is this really what should qualify as a sequel? It's a game with less content than the previous game, but yet they're still planning on adding this content that was lost from Smite 1 to Smite 2 eventually. So much like when I talked about Counter-Strike 2 earlier, it does seem that most of these updates are just major engine upgrades, and that is at the forefront. It does not qualify as a true sequel. It is more like a large update where they revamped some stuff. But I mean, I gotta say, Smite 2, at the core, it feels okay. If you liked Smite 1, you'll probably like Smite 2 as well. They did stick with the identity, even though there was content lost. And I mean, I played a little bit of Smite 2, it's fine. It just feels like an upgraded version of Smite 1. It really does not do that much different from Smite 1. I don't think it is really a sequel. I don't think it does anything different. It is really just an upgrade or an update. I don't know if I would even call it a DLC. It's just a big patch, which is not a bad thing, A good patch, a good big patch can change a game for the better, but they're trying to sell it as a sequel. And yeah, I don't think it qualifies as a sequel at all. And to kind of compensate players that lost all their skins, they were like, hey, here's this in-game currency that you can get if you were a Smite 1 veteran, and you can buy new skins 50% off depending on how much coins you bought in the first game. It's better than nothing, but it still feels kind of weird that you're forced to rebuy all this stuff.
Unless you're a total boomer, you probably don't remember the year 2012. But during this time, zombie hype was at an all-time high, and DayZ was doing some numbers. So of course, other game studios would maybe try to capitalize on the popularity that DayZ was getting. Thus, in December of 2012, the game The War Z ended up releasing onto Steam. This game was interesting because it was an open world zombie game that was a little controversial, and maybe in a way to attempt to hide some of the controversy, or maybe because incoming lawsuits, they ended up going full on rebrand with this game. But why would they want to rebrand when, they're a brand new game? Well, there was a lot of controversy here. You see, while the game first went into an early alpha in October, the full release of the game was scheduled for December 17th, 2012. However, the game actually got removed from Steam due to false advertising, as features that were in the store description weren't actually in the game. You see, in 2012, if you were trying to find another game that scratched the same itch that DayZ was maybe scratching, but you wanted a completely different type of experience, or maybe something that could do it better, I mean, I guess the War Z kind of looked like a game that could be like that. I mean, it claimed on its Steam page that it had multiple large maps from 100 to 400 kilometers squared. In reality, the game only had one map that was about 100 kilometers squared, and parts of it were inaccessible. It advertised that it had up to 100 player servers. That's pretty big, except they ended up capping the servers to 50, and they later said they did it because it was a community preference thing. This game was supposed to have skill point systems and leveling. That wasn't implemented at release, and private servers, which were unavailable at launch. They were listed as an upcoming feature. So yeah, Valve pulled that, though they would update all of their keywords and stuff on their store page, and it was reinstated onto Steam. However, that wasn't where controversy ended. You see, besides the community of DayZ players and other people who were interested in this genre being like, this is kind of a DayZ ripoff, the DayZ developers themselves even spoke out against the game. The DayZ creator, Dean Hull, actually reportedly said that he was hurt personally by the blatant copycat approach of the War Z. Now, in today's gaming industry, we see copycat approaches everywhere, all the time, constantly, dare I say. But in 2012, it was a little more nuanced. Like, you didn't see it this blatant, like maybe now you do, especially like with mobile games trying to copy like something popular on console. Apparently, some of the DayZ team's morale even reportedly went down because of that. And it didn't seem like the team that was working on the War Z were, I don't know, like that professional. For instance, in late October of 2012, right before the game released officially, before it was taken down, but like when it was still in its alpha stage, the executive producer of the game, Sergei Titov, allegedly vented on the official forum talking about players spawn camping. I mean, he was like raging about his own game, talking as far as like kills in the game were concerned, saying that 20% are shitty kills by F-slurs who's spawn camping. He said the gamer word. The goofiest thing about all of this was, I think, the PR guy actually making a statement saying that it was a poor and inappropriate choice of words, but insisted that Titov had no prejudice, that he wasn't homophobic, and it simply was an insult and not a statement of his beliefs. But, you know, referring to players of your own game as a homophobic slur, you know, it doesn't give your game like this level of legitimacy that maybe they were trying to do to stand out as like a competitor to DayZ. But things kept getting worse. For instance, there was this like trademark issue because the game The War Z was way too similar to World War Z, like that movie that was coming out right around that same time. And, you know, it's like a book also. So with all of this stuff compiling together, they decided to rename the game. Which, okay, they had to rename it to avoid the trademark issue, but they probably would have been happy if like people forgot and thought this was a completely different game at that point. So they ended up changing the name to Infestation Survivor Stories. And it lasted for a little while. The game really just hemorrhaged players and eventually shut down in 2016. But there are a few other little interesting things to note about the history of this specific game. Like for instance, when the game first came out, if you died, you had a 1 hour respawn timer where you had to sit there and wait before you could load back in, which already kind of sucked. But the day after the game's launch, or maybe it was 2 days after the game's launch, they changed it to where you had to wait 4 hours before you could play, or you could respawn with microtransactions. Long story short, it would cost like 40 cents if you wanted to respawn right away. But like, come on. After community backlash, they did change this back to 1 hour, so there was that. They did try bringing the game back again as like a sequel title, kind of leaning into the War Z thing that was initially more popular. I don't think it really caught on, and there's been like spiritual successors, but like no one cares. I don't know. This is just a wild story. I wanted to talk about it.
In early 2021, me and Elijah were looking at the Xbox store one night trying to find a game to play. And we came across this cover. We're like, huh, what's this game called? Like CRSED F.O.A.D. What is that? So we just went ahead and installed it, and upon loading into a game, we realized this was just Casino Royale, but with some extra stuff. If you don't know about Casino Royale, it was kind of like a parody battle royale game that came out in 2019, and like a lot of the in-game stuff was like kitchenware themed, and it was like a whole parody of the battle royale genre, which had just blown up with PUBG. It was a fun little game, but I guess the game didn't keep players' attention because, you know, it was just essentially a joke, so players fell off really quickly. So then the studio did something that, you know, is very similar to what Overwatch 2 or Counter-Strike did. They would add a 2 to the name, and this CRSED F.O.A.D thing that I said earlier actually stands for Casino Royale 2nd Edition Fulfillment of All Desires. And all that was different about this game was that they added some like superpowers and some new maps, and they revamped the progression system, I guess. But that was it. The rest, like the base gameplay, the third-person shooter mechanics, that was all the same. No engine change, just like a minor thematic shift. This rebranding was met with mixed reactions. Some players appreciated the new direction and, you know, some additional content, and other players felt that the game lost its unique charm and identity. And for years, that was like kind of the struggle with people who liked the original Casino Royale. But in 2024, they would introduce the original Casino Royale as a game mode into the game, which would focus more on realistic weapons and armor, which, you know, it took out the whole mystical elements and ability stuff they added. But I mean, I do have to say, I felt really tricked thinking this was like some new game when it was just like Casino Royale repackaged. And I don't think we ever played Cursed F.O.A.D ever again after this one magical night in 2021 where we got tricked into playing it. While on the topic of games like randomly reprinting, I remember when Warface like rebranded to Warface Clutch like a couple years ago. I think it's like 2 years ago. And the reason being that they wanted to like start this new chapter for the game, and they were gonna make it all better, and they're gonna have the console and the PC version matching content and all that stuff. And I mean, yes, that is some good stuff. But once again, did the whole renaming thing like do anything really? Is the game in a better state nowadays than it was like 2 years ago? I mean, this is a game that was like, you know, old. I think it launched in 2011 or 2012. I'll put it on the screen right here. But this is an old game. And I mean, for them to just randomly rename it to like, you know, maybe get some more hype around the game just also seemed kind of weird, because I don't think there was any big updates with this like renaming. There was just like the promise of updates in the future, which is actually even weaker than some of the other games we have on this list.
Now, for a while, I kind of went back and forth as to whether or not Destiny should count for this list. The more I thought about it, the more I've leaned towards the decision of yes, Destiny absolutely should, especially Destiny 2. Now, Destiny 2 in itself was already a little bit controversial when Destiny 2 launched, because when Destiny 2 launched, the way that they handled the migration from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2 was maybe not exactly how Destiny 1 players had thought that that would be handled, because they did say, you know, some things would carry over from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. But really, all that happened was the character that you created, the one that you usually never see anyways, like the actual character, not the gear and armor you have over your character, would carry over into Destiny 2. In the intro level, there might be like a different line of dialogue based on if it was your first time ever playing or you had like something from Destiny 1. But that was it. Everything else was a fresh start. And that was already, you know, kind of like a slap in the face to Destiny 1 players who had spent multiple years grinding for gear and playing through all of the different content that was added into Destiny 1, especially because Destiny 1's launch was kind of like a mixed bag as far as like reception. Like Destiny 1 definitely got better in the later years of support, not necessarily the launch era. So the Destiny 1 fans that stuck with it kind of got burned, I think, the hardest with Destiny 2. But then Destiny 2 was also in itself kind of a weird launch. The content felt like there was less to do than in Destiny 1, especially at the beginning. And then the way that they handled new content coming out was weird. There were like these micro episodes that were paid DLC before they later were like, actually, we're going to go do full expansions with a campaign. And Forsaken was great. People really liked Forsaken. That was like kind of the big first expansion that they finally did after a long time. And then they did Shadowkeep, which was pretty good, I think. It was okay, at least. But after that, this is where things get weird. Because with how long Destiny 1 was supported, people were like counting how many years Destiny 1 had been alive and they were approaching that marker with Destiny 2. And there were like leaks from way early on with what Bungie's deal with Activision was as far as how Destiny would be handled. And the original plan was like Destiny expansion, Destiny 2 expansion, Destiny 3, then an expansion. But they already had like flown off that timeline. And then it was revealed that Bungie was working on getting like their independence from Activision altogether. So they would be their own publisher. So that meant more freedom to do whatever they wanted. And they did this big reveal event talking about the future of Destiny 2. Some people speculated Destiny 3 was about to be announced, but they kind of acknowledged that instead of working on Destiny 3, they were working on the next series of expansions for Destiny 2 that would bring the game all the way into essentially 10 years of support. 3 new seasons were announced that day. So the idea was there was this new trilogy of content coming to Destiny 2, so we didn't need Destiny 3. And the game was also going to go like free to play, and they were kind of doing this thing where like free players could get some content and then the paid players buying the expansions would get to keep playing. But I guess to make room for things, they were going to remove the base game of Destiny 2, all of Forsaken, the Leviathan raid, rest in peace, my favorite raid of all of Destiny. And then a lot of the weapons and gear would be sunsetted. So you'd have to grind for the new gear each season. And that was very unpopular. Oh my God, was that unpopular.
Don't forget that they also took away expansion 1 and 2, which they charged like $20 for each.
So if you bought the game and maybe like this first year pass that had the extra content, you just can't play those anymore at all. You still can't play those to this day.
I did buy those, and you know,
I bought them too.
I got scammed, I guess. You know,
dude, what I wouldn't give to get to play the Leviathan one more time.
I don't know. I wouldn't play any of that content. I don't know. Why can't I load up on Mars? Or like, why can't I play the Leviathan? Or why can't I play the crappy episodes they had for the Leviathan? What were they called? Like the raid episodes, or do you remember like the mini raids?
Oh. Raid layers? Was it something like that?
Raid layers, yeah, why can't I play those? Like, I don't know.
We used to be pretty hardcore Destiny 2 players. We fell off quite a ways in. So while they didn't explicitly call it Destiny 3, I think starting with Beyond Light, saying that they were doing new content instead of Destiny 3, I think that should count for this section of the video because it's pretty much a different game. You can't access the old game. They took the content out, just like what some of the other examples we talked about in this video. They're still doing some weird stuff. They're changing up the formula to how they release content. They split expansions up, and maybe like they were supposed to do something grander, I think their 9th year of Destiny expansion, and they split the development up, I think, and then made the final shape as like a finale year. It's a weird arc. And I think Destiny is hemorrhaging players, and I think it kind of makes sense why. I mean, they haven't respected their player base pretty much since the beginning. So yeah, it's a shame because there isn't another game like Destiny really like at its core that had those experiences like raids and stuff that were so much fun. There were periods of time where Destiny truly was a great game, just they fumble it constantly. I don't know. It is a wild live service game.
Yeah, like they've altered their content, and like I don't know, they never managed to capture our interests again. And I think that's how a lot of people feel.
Yeah, we've tried to come back a couple times. We played the Witch Queen. That was kind of fun. I played the laser one, Lightfall.
We played all of them. I'm pretty sure I bought all of them, tried playing all of them. Some I finished the campaign like Witch Queen, some I didn't. But like even when we beat the campaign, it doesn't keep our interest. I don't know, like Forsaken did, or you know what I mean? I don't know. Something was lost when they sunsetted all that stuff.
I like the idea of getting to do all of the raids. Because I would get like my friends who hadn't really played Destiny and be like, oh, let's go and just try to do the raids. We get them all set up. We go and we do the Leviathan. It's a good time. Then maybe we go on to like the other ones. But man, without the Leviathan, I just like, do I really want to take a new player right into Last Wish? Like that's a kind of a challenging raid for a beginner. So I don't know.
We even did a video that was pretty successful on how we like got our friends that never played Destiny, and we did the Leviathan with them. And then, you know, we thought about doing the next one, which was the one on like in that city. You remember? I think that was the second raid, right? I don't remember.
Wasn't Last Wish the second one?
Last Wish. Was Last Wish the second one or the third one? No, Last Wish is still in the game, right?
Right. I think it was either the second one or maybe there was one more that was taken out of the game.
Yeah, the city one, right? Where you are in the city at the beginning.
Oh, God. I know what you're talking about. Scourge of the Past.
Scourge of the Past.
That was a fun one.
They took all the stuff from us, and I don't know.
Wait, you can't play Scourge of the Past anymore?
I'm pretty sure it's gone too, yeah.
Wow. That's really disappointing.
You know, there's just a lot of content that is missing, and multiple campaigns as well. It's not just like the single player campaigns they deleted too, you know what I mean? And I think that's a gateway for a lot of players to get into games, and they just neglect it.
It's weird. There's another game that we were on the fence about whether or not it fully counts and falls into this. But once again, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what? It really does count. It really isn't that different. And it feels like we're picking on this game series because we talk about them a lot. But Call of Duty, I mean, they charge, of course, but more recently, I feel like they're getting even more egregious with marketing what essentially should just be updates to their game as full-on new games, specifically with what they did with Modern Warfare 2, the second Modern Warfare 2, not the original Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3. That like 2-year window of time is just wild. They had Warzone, which was like a really big success in recent years of Call of Duty, and they wanted to launch Warzone 2, which isn't even called Warzone 2 now. They just rebranded it back to Warzone. Essentially, by launching Warzone 2, they had kind of an excuse by putting it in the release of a new Call of Duty game to make it where anybody who had bought skins, made progress in the previous Warzone, could no longer keep their cosmetics. And to be fair, it is kind of a broken system that they would add all of the weapons and all of the cosmetics from like 3 Call of Duties in a row into Warzone. And I can understand that like that does cause like balancing issues, and that also could cause like a lot of work to manage having like 3 games worth of weapons in a game. But I feel like there's other ways around than just completely shutting down and doing a new game, an arguably worse version of the game. And the fact that you can't go back and play the OG Warzone is weird. Vanguard, if you like looked at it on multiple platforms, you were talking about this, right, Luke?
Yeah, I was looking at my PlayStation the other day. I was looking at the sales, and then Warzone Vanguard is on sale, and it says like Vanguard Warzone Last Stand. It's advertising Warzone 1. So like you buy this game or sale on, it's like still $40 on sale, which is actually insane, by the way. Paying $40 for Vanguard now, but you don't even get to play that Warzone Last Stand content that's like big there on the cover.
It's like this weird planned obsolescence? Is that the word?
That's a big word. What is obsolescence, dude? Let me Google that.
They like purposely make it obsolete so that you have to get the next thing. And then while they do that, they make you nostalgic for what you literally just had access to. It's like when they took away the original Warzone map, and now they're like, look, it's back. Aren't you guys excited? We're like, why'd you take it away in the first place? But then, you could be like, well, this one maybe doesn't quite count because it wasn't in the form of an update. It was an actual release. At the same time, that same year, what did they really do between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3? This was the first time we had Call of Duty games back to back that are sequels, even if there were different studios working on them. There was like a progression, like an actual like connection between the two games. Because not only did all of your progress and weapons from Modern Warfare 2 carry directly over into Modern Warfare 3, some of the maps showed up in Modern Warfare 3. It was actually weird. I've never seen this happen, but it wasn't like they re-released the maps. It was like all of a sudden I logged onto Modern Warfare 3 and there was just a playlist of Modern Warfare 2 maps where I could just go on and play the same map that was in the previous game. So they literally just treated this as an update that you also forgot was a sequel that you paid money for at full price. Absolutely ridiculous. Modern Warfare 3 was literally just a map pack, a really short and shitty campaign, nostalgia baiting with Modern Warfare 2 maps. Why did Modern Warfare 3 be the game that brought back Modern Warfare 2 maps? Because it was DLC for Modern Warfare 2 probably originally. And they decided if they can just throw a little bit more content, they can sell the game for $70. And that's what they did.
There was those rumors going around at that time that Call of Duty is going to do a 2-year cycle for the future, but I guess those never became true. You remember that? And so I wonder if those plans like kept changing, and then that's how we got Modern Warfare 3.
They had to have. There's no way. I think Modern Warfare 3 was just a big expansion, maybe something that was pretty premium in price, $45, $50. And then they were like, but we can make more money if we just brand it as a sequel and sell it for full price. And that's what they did. And I think we're seeing something similar right now because we're still in that cycle. And maybe, game development takes years. So maybe with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, that plan was already in motion, obviously, for the Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3. And maybe Activision was like, this is the future. So start working on Black Ops 7 while you're working on Black Ops 6. Originally, maybe it was a DLC type plan, but they're like, start working on the big DLC of content expansion, and then along the way when they changed it into a sequel, they made that. I think Black Ops 7 will have more content than what Modern Warfare 2 to 3 did, but I still think this is like how you rush games. Like I feel like the campaign's gonna feel really rushed again, and it's not. I don't think that that's fun. I mean, Call of Duty campaigns were like a yearly special occasion for me as like a teenager. Like they were usually like somewhat good. You sit down, you play the campaign when it comes out, and then you go and play multiplayer, and the campaign was like, wow, that was cool. And that was it. It wasn't that complicated. But now, I don't know, I really didn't like Modern Warfare 3's campaign.
Right, but sure, but like after Black Ops 2, I felt like it was like hit or miss, like constantly with the campaigns. It wasn't like, before it was like COD 4 through Black Ops 2, it was like good campaigns. And then, Black Ops 3, was kind of meh. Advanced Warfare was good.
You don't even talk about Ghosts?
Oh, Ghosts, dude. It's so bad I forgot it exists.
Dude, Ghost wasn't a bad campaign.
It was a little goofy. When the dad pulls down the mask and you're like, Dad?
I'm a ghost. And you're a ghost now, too.
How they try pushing the dog? I don't know. I just remember I felt tricked by Ghosts. I don't know.
It was like the Fast and Furious of Call of Duty. It definitely wasn't supposed to be taken seriously.
Like World War II? Which one was the campaign with like a train crash and stuff? That was World War II, right?
Oh, yeah. World War II, yeah, with the never-ending train crash. I liked World War II's campaign up until it ended because, like, it feels like you're about to get into the third act and maybe you have like 4 or 5 more hours where things are really going to start, and then the game's over. Like, it just ends abruptly. And that was kind of the trend, I feel like, after Advanced Warfare. Everything after Advanced Warfare definitely felt like they have like a timer, and as soon as the 5-hour mark is hit, they're like, throw the credits on, doesn't matter where we're at, wrap it up. More people, more studios, more teams are working on the game than ever before, but they are spreading stuff thin.
You did say this too, though, but Black Ops 7 looks like it's going to have more content than Modern Warfare 3. It will have a co-op campaign, which we haven't had in a while. When was the last one? Like Black Ops 3?
Which wasn't a good game.
So they are 50-50 on the co-op campaign so far.
Because we had World at War.
Black Ops 3, brace shit. So the bar is like in the middle.
But World at War's campaign was good. They did cut out like 2 of the best levels for co-op mode. You missed the sniper level, and that's like a pretty critical level of the game. That's like one of the best levels in the game, and then the airplane one. So, yes. You're right.
Modern Warfare 3 also did the weird zombies mode, which like felt like some like Horde mode that someone made up like on the Battle Royale map.
They were just trying to make they were trying to turn their little extraction mode into a quick zombie mode.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They just had recycled content where Black Ops 7 might have like proper zombies maps again, you know what I mean? Not like so maybe Black Ops, I'm not as pessimistic about Black Ops 7. I think it's going to be fun.
I think there's still hints, though, everywhere that Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 7 were DLC originally. Because the whole Modern Warfare 2 releases and all of the maps in Modern Warfare 3 are the Modern Warfare 2 maps. That in itself is weird. Like, why would they choose all of the game? I feel like that it would have made more sense for all the Modern Warfare 2 maps to release as a Modern Warfare 2 DLC. And then with Black Ops 6 going into Black Ops 7, you notice something about the main menu music? It's like a remix of Black Ops 2's main menu music.
Does that mean it's going to have all the Black Ops 1 maps?
No, but there were rumors for a while that it was going to have all the Black Ops 2 maps, and then that didn't end up happening. They announced, I think, Black Ops 7 is going to have new maps. But I bet you those Black Ops 2 maps are remade somewhere. They're going to hold on to them, just like Modern Warfare 2 remastered multiplayer. They're holding on to it. They're keeping it in the Call of Duty vault, and they're going to throw it out there one day. Just like how we got Modern Warfare 2's campaign randomly during COVID.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Just out of the blue. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I bet you Modern Warfare 3's done. I bet you Black Ops Remastered's done. I have a feeling like they just have these games done and they like then decide, are we going to release this? Are we making enough money right now with microtransactions and skins? No. Well, we got this Call of Duty game that we did 5 years ago that's ready to go that we can nostalgia bait with. And that's just my crazy speculation, though. I don't know. My tinfoil hat conspiracy.
Now, MMOs are a little bit of a harder genre to try to figure out exactly what's going on. A lot of them evolve over time. Phantasy Star Online 2 actually did a pretty big overhaul years after the game originally released to add a whole brand new campaign. It was called New Genesis, but while they added a new campaign and a new experience for new players jumping into the game, you still could go back and play the old content that was there in the base game early days, and all of the stuff that was new still leaves you access to go back to the old stuff. So, maybe an example of something not being terribly done.
Since we're on the topic of MMORPGs. I think there are a couple other ones we can mention without having to necessarily dive into as much. RuneScape. I never was a big RuneScape player. I've always tried it a couple of times and then I didn't know what to do. But from a historical aspect, I think RuneScape's pretty cool. And RuneScape is kind of one of the older examples of a game that like completely evolved and turned into something unrecognizable from its original version. There was the original RuneScape, like the 1.0 web-based version. Then they did like RuneScape 2, and that was like the most popular version ever. And then slowly over the years, they would keep changing things. Then they did this big like engine jump, I think, to like, was it like HTML5 or something like that? Something like that. On the screen, we have the right version if I said it wrong, or text that says he was right. Okay, that marked like the shift from RuneScape 2 to RuneScape 3. And RuneScape 3, now rebranded as just RuneScape, is quite a bit different from what RuneScape 2 was like. I mean, look at this gameplay footage side by side, and I'm sure all of the content is different too, because I mean, look at these games. They're different games. I don't know much about RuneScape, I'll be honest. But like I said, the shift is what I think is very interesting to me. And I did a little bit of research, and it turns out the developers of RuneScape and RuneScape 2 and RuneScape 3 realized that there was a large like player base nostalgic for the good old days of RuneScape 2. And they had an old build from like 2007, and they created old school RuneScape. And you can go back and play RuneScape how it was back in its glory days, and any new update that comes out for that version of the game is like sent to the community first, and they have to like vote on it, and it has to have like a 75% approval rating, and then they'll add the update. And then RuneScape 3 is still its own thing. So I think that RuneScape 2 to 3 counts because it was like a forced update. Even if it was gradually and incrementally over time, it made the original version of the game not accessible at all. Then they went back and they did a separate launcher. So I think they did right by the fans by bringing old school RuneScape back and still keeping RuneScape 3, because I know there's a couple people that really like that version or just wanted to continue that version on. But yeah, wild times. You can't play RuneScape Classic anymore. They shut that down a few years ago. I thought that was interesting too. But that's the gist of RuneScape.
There's actually another MMO that did something with replacing the original version. You can't access the original version, but this one was kind of a good replacement. So in 2010, Final Fantasy XIV launched as an MMO, the first Final Fantasy game as an MMO. And I remember people were not happy with this. They were really, really upset that the single-player franchise is releasing a MMO game as its mainline game for that year. This game also wasn't good. It was just a bad MMO, and it was a complete disaster. So what did they do? You know, they could have shut it down, cut their losses, but instead they did an in-game event where the world ended of Final Fantasy XIV 1.0. So, and then in 2013, they would launch A Realm Reborn, which was a updated and like salvaged version of Final Fantasy XIV. Like they reused some content, assets and stuff, but updated the engine at the same time and just overhauled it completely as a MMO.
And now the game's all better. Right.
One of the best MMOs you can play. Remember a couple years ago, it was so popular they had to shut down the sale of it because they couldn't buy enough servers quickly.
Those pandemic times, they're crazy. Yeah, no, that is insane. I've tried to play Realm Reborn. I don't think I'm good with MMOs. I've tried all of them. I just don't know what I'm doing ever.
It's not that you don't know what you're doing. You don't like what you're doing, I think.
It's always a fetch quest, dude. When they make a non-fetch quest MMO, dude, I'm in there. So what do you guys think? This was kind of an interesting topic. I know it's a little very specific, but if you enjoyed it and you want to see us talk about more specific topics that are a little bit out there in interesting cases, maybe subscribe, leave a comment with suggestions of videos too. Also, huge thank you to our patrons and our YouTube members making these videos possible. We only ever did the long form content because we felt like we had the support from you guys. So we're glad we've done it. If you guys have a couple of dollars and you want to throw it our way and get your name in the video, there's links or whatever. You can figure it out. That would be really cool. It helps us too. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you soon with some more videos. Watch this video. This one. Okay, bye.